very happy. I'm very happy that eventually there is a lift of, or rather, as the PTF said, relaxation of religious worship. The regulation on it relaxed. That means we can now worship, because we are following the whole regulation and the control, because we saw it to be very necessary. But at the same time, we are facing the problem of faith expression as it should be. Really, we had already tried to be following the whole thing virtually like every other person was doing. But there are certain aspects of our religious worship that one cannot just fulfill on the screen or watching the screen or any other thing. So those aspects were really missing, and then painfully being missed. So we were relieved, because in our understanding of the whole problem that is ravaging, we felt that human effort is wonderful, has to be done, but the divine intervention, very, very necessary. We believe in the principle of 99% perspiration, but 1% inspiration. That means in whatever thing we are doing, we try to exhaust all human possibilities, all human avenues for reaching a solution. But then we make room for that 1% intervention of God. And we believe in our own understanding. Truly, God can be seen or visited at any point. But our worshiping grounds happen to be a place of meeting, contact, and that we miss so much. One consoling thing was that it wasn't just anything happening in Nigeria. It was worldwide. But at a certain stage, when we saw that we must live with this very virus, we felt that the first port of call should have been to lift the bans on where we meet with God. We ask for this 1% inspiration. And gradually the federal government has done it through the PTF. But then we know our own responsibility, because we are saying we are living with the disease. Not that we have totally eliminated it. We are living with it. Because of it, certain regulations and steps will have to be taken in order to contain the disease the way it is. So in our churches now, especially in the Christian churches and particularly the Catholic Church, we shall maintain all the regulations of the CDC, or NCDC, as a consensus. That means basic hygiene, washing of hands with soap, under running water, physical distancing, very, very important. That's what we've been doing in our churches, because usually in our churches we may have up to 6 to 7 persons in a pew. But because we want to maintain this issue of physical distancing of 2 meters, we reduce the whole thing to 2. Or in some large pews, 3. To make sure it's there, including face masking. The few masses we celebrated when it was allowed, we celebrated with face mask. And that has been the order of the day since the lockdown. Celebrate mass that's going to involve more than 20 persons, as allowed by the CDC, with face mask. Both the chief celebrants and the co-celebrants and then the participants. Because as everybody can see, there is apparent confusion as to the source and then solution to the whole problem. And everybody seems to be pointing to one fact, that avoidance of contacts would help in ameliorating the spread of this very disease. Because of it, one knows that then if you can avoid much contact in any group you are in, then the possibility of now contacting the disease will be limited. So one doesn't even need a very big whip behind somebody in order to fulfill that, because it's a common sense knowledge and workable knowledge. So in the churches, we still believe we are going to continue with that, with other measures to make sure that we still continue to manage the situation and seriously reduce spread. But we are begging all other agencies, not just the church agencies. If in the church now we insist on observing the COVID regulations, and they come out in the other sections of the society, these things are not really observed, makes nonsense of all our effort. Because the people who come and worship with us in the church wear face masks, wash their hands so many times, even before communion, observe social distancing. But then, immediately they leave the cathedral or the church, they join a keke, no face mask. They are touching everything. They are not washing hands. They go to the bus, the same problem. These are the same people. And I want our people to understand this. There has to be a synergy in the aspects of life we have. We are talking of religious life, we are talking of social life, we are talking of cultural life, we are talking of academic life. There has to be some kind of synergy. Each has to complement one another for this thing to really go. When eventually the disease goes, we know it has come. For now, we have been listening to all forms of information technique. When will then vaccine come in? Because it does seem that only with the vaccine, as things look like now, that one can be sure, one will say it has gone, or one can control it. And we're talking of 1 year, more than 1 year. Then the issue of cure. So many solutions are being given. But the known ones are these ones we have been told. Avoid clustering. Avoid talking to somebody and allowing whatever. Because as everybody has noticed, this is a disease that does not have any particular symptom. And we have heard that some are even asymptomatic. They cannot even, you have it, you wouldn't know you have it. So this is the appeal we are making. In as much as we are making our own effort, because it looks very funny where they were afraid of religious gatherings and everything, and then they're allowing people are in the different markets. I really wonder what is going on in some of our people, especially in the villages. This is not yet a reality. And they are clustering and talking. These same people were the people, they come into the church, we control them. They leave the church, they throw away their masks, throw away all those regulations, it is not correct.
My Lord, in addition to the set out guidelines, they added one on Monday, the PTF. They said churches and mosques must have an attendance register to make it easy for contact tracing. How possible would this be?
Yeah, it is going to be difficult. It's going to be difficult, but we shall try it. It's going to be difficult because, you know, the way it is, like in the Catholic Church, we are now celebrating, of course, they mentioned the issue of 1 hour. Yeah. That we have been trying to practice already. 1 hour. Even some of us will try even 45 minutes if it's possible. You know. But the issue is, as they are coming, our people are they are not used to coming early. And it's true that you have to then celebrate a mass that should last for 2 hours will now be 1 hour. And the mass should be 8 o'clock. And you are still doing registration till 8:30. The next mass should be 9 o'clock. So what are you going to do? So I was like, we're going to try, but it's going to be very difficult. Because you may notice that people spend the whole time in the church, the whole day in the church, trying to register. We try that, but we are saying for the church. The church is not even the big problem. The big problem is the market. The big problem is motor park. The big problem is keke park. Because in the church, assuming you get, and the person in the church didn't contact it and gets this disease while trying to join a taxi, which one are you going to use to judge? That same person who came to the church and was registered got the illness. Well, I don't know what is going to help them to know, join the taxi, from which taxi. But the taxi man should keep his own register. And so it's a very complicated matter. But we shall do our best to follow the regulation.
My Lord, some people are of the opinion that this lockdown is unnecessary, especially as regards the church. What do you think we've achieved by this lockdown?
Yeah, well, by the lockdown, many have come to understand that it is necessary to stay at home. Well, it is necessary. There are some who believe God can cure miraculously, can do everything. But in the lockdown, it is very clear to us, first of all, you are contacting with people. You have to take care of your basic hygiene. Yeah. And then the lockdown has told us, you are maybe thinking of one thing, or maybe thinking of so many advantages of the lockdown. You now have to set your priorities right. You must not go to every place. You must not travel to every place. You must not use everything. You have to continue, or rather, restrict yourself to the very necessary things you're supposed to do. So if you are talking about being necessary, those who are saying it's not necessary, I don't think they may be living in limbo. They are living in a limbo. Any real person who has heard the news of how this thing spreads and how many people that die, look at it. I was looking at the update this morning, 10.6 thousand. And then over 390 something dead. We started with 3 people died, the one I got to hear. That should be 2 months ago. And 385 have died. You may say probably, yeah, we're doing more testing and people are beginning to accept. But it shows you that there's an increase. God is helping us because when we check our population and the way we cluster in other places, as I've mentioned today, you'll be wondering why we are still dying in small bits. When someone was telling me, you have 200 million people and only 300 dies, it's nothing. But every life is worth it. So it is necessary. We have seen it is necessary.
My Lord, before now, the Catholic Church holds holy masses every day in the morning, and also organize weddings, baptism, and the rest. With this lifting, with this new directive, with those things, we
follow the regulation the way it is for everything we are doing. Where it is not allowed, for instance, we know that they have said for social gatherings not more than 20 persons. So if you are going to do wedding and have more than 20, you are breaking the rule. So there are areas where we know we can bring in, but we observe look, 3 major things. Common hygiene, very basic hygiene. Wash your hands very well, Social distancing, masking. If you have these 3 things, if you're observing them, it will be difficult for you to break the regulation. It will be difficult for you to do anything you like. You cannot come to a video where you have 1,000 people. How would you distance? It's impossible. You need to have a very massive area in order to take 2 meters. So if you observe the regulations, you see it controls us. It controls even we have known now, it will take you more time. If you were having about 1,000 in your worship place, you have to break that 1,000 into such, depending on the space you have, to make sure you have these things put in place and respected.
Finally, your message to the faithful in this diocese.
The faithful, let them keep the regulations. Simple.
Thank you.
Okay.